Wish I had some screened out already I could show you. Good morning, beautiful people. Actually, I think it's closer to afternoon, but it's so overcast that it's kind of hard to tell what time of day it is. I have been very, you know what? Hold that thought. I'm going to turn off this fence. The weather has warmed up. Honestly, my favorite weather because it's like nice and cool in the mornings and in the evenings. During the day, it's pretty warm. All the plants are starting to grow. The grass is turning green. I love this time of year. All right. So the theme of today's video, I figured I would talk about my compost system. Given the time of year, given everything that's going on, it is garden season. And during garden season, you need a lot of compost. And for us, we need a lot of compost. This is our garden setup, plus the greenhouse. We have a lot of garden space. And with that, we need a lot of compost. Well, I figured I might as well just take a minute and talk to you guys about how I avoid having to go buy compost. There's really nothing worse than having to go buy compost, and then when you use it up, it's gone, and you still need some. So that's where the compost pile comes in. Over the years, I have done multiple different ways of composting. They've all worked, they've all been okay. But I think my current system right now is my favorite. So I'm gonna talk about that right now. I have two different compost systems I'm currently doing. They're basically the same. One is with chickens, one is with pigs. I figured I would talk about it and let you know what the deal is. This is the first one. This is my favorite one. This is the chicken coop. If you notice, you can see how full this chicken coop is with wood chips. I probably have about a truckload of wood chips in here. Now I will say, through a lot of trial and error, I have been able to do this system with grass clippings and leaves and basically everything that I can collect on my property, but it takes a lot. Basically, I only have enough to do just one chicken coop. Having made a connection with some tree service guys, and I've been getting wood chips, that's what's really jump-started this system and got it to where I can really make a lot of compost. So I will say, it is wood chip driven, but we've been here 5 years, and in that 5 years up till now, I had only gotten 2 or 3 truckloads of wood chips, and I had to chase the trucks down and beg them to come dump them over here. Hi Millie, you found me. It's pretty simple. I wasn't planning on making compost in the chicken run. I just wanted some carbon in there to soak up all of the manure and the stink when it rains. The wood chips do a very good job of that. You could use bedding, you could get shavings, there's all sorts of things you could put in there. I use the wood chips. I can show you what the end product is. Now this isn't, I'm not doing my chicken tractor on steroids method. This is just load this thing up with wood chips and walk away. So this past weekend, I got in here with the tractor. I pulled out all of the wood chips that had been in there and piled them up. They are needing to sit a little bit more. I actually need to add some water. I guess I can show you this. So this is what I pulled out of the chicken coop. I've filled up 2 of my compost rings, heaping, and the stuff on the end is kind of woody, and that will actually go back into the system. But it's actually pretty warm down there. There we go. It's still pretty woody, but there's a lot in here that is finished and is ready to go. Before this goes on the garden, I'll just run it through one of my sifters, one of my screens, probably a 1/2-inch screen. The sifted stuff goes on the garden, and then the heavier wood chip stuff that hasn't broken down yet, that'll go back in the coop, and they can continue working on it. I just haven't had a chance to screen all that. Now this over here, let's see, I loaded all those wood chips up probably about a month and a half ago. This is what I pulled out before I started it. This stuff, I mean, honestly, the longer it's sat here, it's starting to look more and more like garden soil. And there still is a few sticks and things like that because we are constantly adding to the chicken run. Because we are constantly adding to it, you have different age materials in there. So as you can see right now, it's a bunch of fresh wood chips, and you can see a lot of green. Me and the boys were out using the scythes last night, and we just collect all the grass and we feed the animals with it because the animals like it. It's a treat for the animals. Brought a huge load of it in here, dumped it. The chickens ate what they want, and then the rest just gets worked into the wood chips. I don't worry about adding water to this. Honestly, we get enough rain. The rain handles that. I didn't water this in or anything when I added this. Yeah, I think it was 2 days ago. I think it was Saturday. Today is Monday. Happy April, by the way. I'll just wait until we get some rain. I know there's some rain in the forecast. This will get all watered. Usually what I'll do, the only intervention that I will do is I'll come in with a pitchfork and I'll dig along this fence line down to the dirt, and right there at the dirt where the wood chip meets dirt, there's usually a bunch of worms, and that's where the grubs are and stuff like that. So I'll turn that over, and it makes the chickens go nuts. They get to eat all those worms. It makes them happy. Believe it or not, when I piled all of this in here, I left it in a giant mountain right in the middle, and these ladies have flattened it out. It's kind of like a self-turning compost system. I would say probably after about a month and a half, I've got that. That is a bunch of compost, just a little bit more work, and I can sift it out and have it ready for the garden. Great system. I'll show you the second system and what we're doing down here. There's my next work crew. And they're probably gonna start going crazy because I'm walking down here. They're probably going to demand some snacks, but we will see. So this is my second system. I'll show you the pile that I got out. But as you can see, this pen is full of wood chips. This is actually about an entire truckload of wood chips that I've got in here. I don't have any pigs in here right now. These guys are gonna get shuffled around. We're getting ready to send about half of these pigs to their new homes. And then we're gonna pick up some bigger, faster growing feeder pigs here pretty soon. So believe it or not, in this pen, I probably have a whole truckload of wood chips in here, as well as several hay bales. I think there was a tree in here that they had killed, and it fell over and they broke it up. It was all rotten. It doesn't look like it because the wood chips are so trampled, but there is probably a solid foot of wood chips in this bed, or this pen. One of the ways I can get them to get in and turn it and mess with it is I will take dry feed and I'll sprinkle it on the areas that I want them to get in and turn. Or even better, I'll get in there with a pitchfork and I'll open a hole, drop some feed down and cover it up. Drives them crazy, but if you've ever wanted to see a pig tear something up, bury some food. They can smell it and they will dig until they find it. In here, this pen's actually getting pretty close to me getting in here with a tractor and either scraping it up in a pile, or I don't know, I don't really need to add more wood chips. We have enough wood chips in there. This is a little bit slower than the chickens. I have found that the pigs honestly are not as destructive as the chickens when it comes to making compost. The chickens are like a non-stop shredder. They will scratch and peck and scratch and peck until all of those wood chips are broken down. Now I will say, you can see this pen, these ones still very much look like wood chips. They still smell great. Like I said, I haven't had any pigs in here yet. We will here shortly. But this is how it started. This is how it's going. And I'll show you what it looks like after a few months. Now mind you, the amount of stuff that I have to throw at a pig pen to make it not stink is probably 2 to 3 times what I have to put in the chicken pen. It's pretty substantial. But when we're done, I'm left with a pile like this. Like, this is a huge pile. I have used a little bit of this. This is the pen that had all of the fresh wood chips. This is what came out of that pen. A great big, massive pile. It does not stink. Some people, us included, I don't want to use compost in the garden if it stinks like manure still. This does not stink. This actually smells like rich compost. It's actually amazing. Usually, this is full of worms, like earthworms and just all sorts of life. You can see it's starting to sprout, like little grass seed and things like that are starting to sprout. It's a little chunky because there's still some hay that either was on top or on bottom that ended up becoming anaerobic. And so that's where I come in, bringing it all up and getting to mix it and get it aerated. It gets it to start breaking down. Got my compost thermometer. I had piled this pile, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago I did this. I emptied out the pig pen and piled all this up. and it just kind of sat for a couple days and didn't do anything. And then we had a rain event. We got, I don't know, a couple inches of rain, and I came out the next day and this pile was steaming. All that happened was I piled it up, left it, and then it got rained on and apparently activated it. Yeah, it's definitely awake. It looks like it's up around 130 degrees, which that's pretty good. Basically doing compost in this way, one of the ways that I can tell that it's done is when it cools down. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's done. It usually means it dried out. General rule of thumb is if it doesn't stink, it doesn't smell like manure, it looks, smells, feels like beautiful soil, something you'd like to grow vegetables in, generally it's ready. The pig system is great. I love it. It's one of those kill two birds with one stone. I'm putting wood chips and shavings and sawdust and hay and straw and whatever I've got in the pig pen to make their life more comfortable, and in turn I get compost. I guess the reason for this video is one of the #1 comments I get is people are asking, hey, can you teach me how to make compost? Compost is such a broad subject. I don't feel that there's really any wrong way to do it, as long as you're just taking your waste and turning it into something usable. In my case, I'm taking wood chips, I'm taking grass clippings, I'm taking old leaves. It's another thing too, I need to put a couple bags of leaves in here because I feel that the leaves actually make for softer compost, I guess. So maybe I'll do that right now. I can go grab a bag of leaves. Even though it's kind of unsightly having a massive pile of black trash bags sitting here, I know the truth. These are my leaves. This is all the leaves I've got left. Thinking about it like that kind of changes your perspective a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, I'll just get some leaves, and then you start using some leaves and it's like, uh-oh, I only have 6 bags of leaves left. What am I gonna do when I run out of leaves? I have to wait till next fall. Watch out, ladies, watch out. All right, ladies. I know, ladies, some old wet leaves aren't as appetizing as some freshly cut clover, but go ahead, sort through that. I bet you there's some bugs in there. So one of the things that I get asked about making compost is, you know, what do I put in? That's pretty much up to you. Whenever I'm making compost, if I don't have wood chips, that is my biggest hang up, is not having enough stuff to put in. Like you see, I've got leaves, I've got plenty of grass clippings, stuff like that. If you're pruning stuff, you're pruning your trees or whatever, chop up the sticks, sit there with some pruning shears and chop it up into small pieces and throw all that to them. They'll eat the leaves, they'll eat the green stuff. One of the things, people are gonna say this is gross, but if you're doing a compost pile and you've got it nice and hot, if you have offal you need to dispose of, compost pile, as long as it's, you know, above 120, it will be active enough. You can open up the middle of that and put all that gunk in there, and that compost pile will completely dissolve it and break it down. Like, it is amazing what you can do with a compost pile. People are gonna ask, how often do I turn it? There are so many videos on YouTube of various ways you can do a compost pile. I've always been a fan of the hot compost pile, where you're getting out and turning it every day, every 2 days. You can do the 18-day compost if you want. You can do a 30-day compost pile if you want. It's really up to you and your schedule and how much you want to get out there and bust your butt. A lot of times I don't have a minute, I've got something going on and I can't get out there every day, and then I end up forgetting about it, and then it's been a week and I haven't turned it. The thing that has worked for me is doing a system in the chicken coop with those rings. I'll put a ring in the middle and I put all of my stuff that I'm composting in the middle, and then at the end of every week, that's when I turn it. For me, that system, partnering with the chickens, letting them do most of the shredding, I can get finished compost in about a month. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Now I will say doing it with the pigs is a little bit slower. Like I said, they're not as destructive, believe it or not, but ultimately it yields the same results. It's just a little bit slower. I would say what the chickens can get done in a month, it takes the pigs 3 months to do. Okay, I will say this. This is something that I have found just in personal experience. The compost that I make with the chickens, by the time it is done, wish I had some screened out already I could show you. So this stuff right here, like, take the big sticks out and you're left with some beautiful, beautiful just garden soil. Like, it is beautiful stuff. This stuff, I have no problem putting in the garden. I have no problem growing vegetables in this stuff. Whereas the pig compost, personal preference, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't feel that it's unclean or whatever, but I don't want to put pig compost in my garden where I'm going to be eating vegetables. So what I do with these separate composts, the long-term things like trees, all my perennials, they get the pig compost. That stuff goes straight out into the orchard. It'll go in places where, oh, say we're growing blueberries. Well, the pig compost will go great on those because it's not in direct contact with what you're going to eat. Whereas the chicken compost, I'll put that around our lettuce. I don't mind it at all. Probably because the chicken compost, I think the last time I did a hot compost pile with the chickens, I got the pile up to 184 degrees, which I came out one morning and thought my thermometer was broken, but that's a little bit hotter than you want. That was a pile that I ended up turning into a volcano just to get it to cool down a little bit, because what happens when they get that hot is they actually burn up and kill all of the microbes. From what I've heard, you can get a compost pile hot enough that they can actually spontaneously combust. Don't think the chickens would enjoy that very much in their chicken run. But yeah, you gotta watch your compost piles. That is the first time in my entire life that I've ever gotten a compost pile that hot. I thought it was cool. I took a picture of it, but yeah, it can happen. Don't want them that hot. All right, I think that about does it for talking about compost. There are other ways you can use the compost other than, you know, just top dressing or adding it to your garden beds. One of the ways that I am getting into is compost extracts. I've done compost tea in the past, which this IBC tote down here is. I'm gonna make some compost tea with that. I'll save that for another video. That's a lot to get into in one video, but yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can use your compost. There's a lot of different things you can do. Compost was kind of my gateway into homesteading back when I was working all the time. If I had a minute after work, I would go out and I would work the compost pile, and it was a way to just de-stress and kind of unwind. So to me, compost kind of holds a special place. It's kind of my little happy place. All right, it is not quite the end of the day, actually. We're having an early dinner.
We are.
We have some stuff to do after dinner, so we're doing some dinner now.
Yep.
So, you...
I mean, it's 5 o'clock, it's not that
I mean, it's dinner time somewhere.
Yeah.
It's dinner time in this house.
That's right.
All right, so you roasted up a chicken in the crock pot. Roasted. Not roasted. Crock potted.
A chicken. Yeah, definitely different than roasting, but still good. So this has been slow cooking for, I don't know, 6 hours.
We actually haven't had a crock pot for a very long time.
Yeah, the last one I had, the crock itself broke right before we hit the road.
Yes.
Because I was going to bring it with us, and it broke, and I was like...
Right before. Isn't this like the same one?
It's not quite the same one, but it's close.
I mean, we had that crock pot for years, and it was one of those weird things that happened right before we hit the road.
Yeah.
We had stuff break. We got rid of stuff that we had held on to for years. Like, it was a really weird time right before we hit the road and left. But yeah, that crock pot broke clean half in two. And
it did. And for the most part, I've been dealing without one. Like, I've had the Instant Pot, and then I bought the roaster, and the roaster's great, but it's like really big. And I was like, I am buying myself a baby present. I am buying a crock pot because this does like a small batch at a time.
Yep.
You know, just what we need for dinner. For example, like, I don't really want to leave the roaster if we leave the house. Because it can burn stuff easily.
Yes.
This, we can just, like, if we have to go somewhere and we come back to a late dinner, then I can pop stuff in the crock pot and we've got dinner when we get home. So, life is easy that way. It's great. Or I can be like, hey, y'all, put something in the crock pot.
Go throw a chicken in the crock pot with some potatoes and bam, dinner.
Yeah. So, Since we are having to leave early tonight, I was like, you know what? We're just gonna do a crock pot meal tonight. This will be super easy, and it's hot today, and I didn't want to turn on the oven.
It's like 80 degrees outside today. It definitely feels like not so much spring, like the end of spring.
Yeah, even though it's supposed to be
summer.
Yeah, like
kind of like summer.
But it's supposed to be like 50s and cold again the next few days. So
I'll take that too.
anyways, we got chicken, and I got over here had leftover. We call it rice-a-phony because I just made a knockoff version of
Rice-a-roni.
Rice-a-roni from the box. I don't use a box. Pretty simple. So I reheated that, and then we've got some tater salad in the fridge, and we'll be good to go.
Bam, dinner.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
You ready to eat?
I am ready to eat.
Okay.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for the beautiful weather.
Her rice.
Don't butter her. All right. Looks like this battery is just about toast, so
Yep.
I think I'm going to wrap it up right here. So we will catch you guys on the next one.
Bye.